Welcome back to the Liverpool Community Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Johnson Lynch, and as we do a series of programs here at Big Condo Academy, and once again, we're back here with artists working on the Audible Amazon project. And basically, we're giving artists a chance to work together, coming from different backgrounds, as well as different styles. And one artist I'm talking to right now in front of me is Grace Chloe. How are you doing, Grace?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
All right. No need to be nervous, Grace. It's all good. Is this your first podcast? Oh no, that's right. You have done. We're going to talk about a special project you've done.
But I mean, I've got one coming out next week.
Yes, true. I'm not the first one, it seems, but we'll talk about that. But basically, you come here to the Academy on an Audible project, where you are getting to learn not only about music and the background, like behind the scenes and all that, but to actually collaborate on creating a track, a song with somebody you haven't met and whatever in succession. So, well, we're going to talk about the collaboration that you have done. But first, we want to find out a bit about you. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, my understanding, you've been singing for, you started about 5 to 8 years ago?
Professionally, I started about 5 years ago. In terms of gigging, I've been singing in care homes and stuff since 2015, so that's been more like 10 years. But just singing, in terms of singing, I've been doing that my whole life. But yeah, as under the name Grace Chloe, as a artist, I've only been going since 2019.
And when you were asked, kind of like, what is the style of music that you find comfortable or more in your style? I believe you said it was more of a rock pop type of style.
Yeah, so I'm, that's the stuff I write tends to be quite rock pop. But me, like on my own, I'm a singer pianist. So I'm in I kind of do rock songs, but only using a piano. The aim is to have a band at some point in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for now it's kind of rock and roll, missing the band.
Well, I mean, I believe you said you started playing piano when you were 8, didn't you?
Yeah. So I lost my sight when I was 4 years old, almost completely. So obviously then I had to start learning Braille and how to use a cane and stuff like that. And the teachers for those I just had really weak hands. Like I had no kind of strength in my fingers and stuff. So, playing piano and reading Braille, you've kind of got your hands in this similar position. So I think maybe that's where the kind of, that would be a good idea for me to do. And yeah, for the first year, I hated the lessons because it was all, scales and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand it. But I don't know, just sort of, I started going to different classes which were with other people. And I think it was once I was in that kind of environment, it became a lot more, it became fun because you'd see other people were struggling kind of just as much as you, and you'd think like, oh, okay, I'm not just the worst person in the world at this thing. I pretty much as soon as I started playing piano, it probably took about 2 years for my like playing by ear skills to really kick in. So if I hear a song, I can work out how to play it unless it's some crazy jazz arrangement.
Well, piano is good for that.
But it's I can't sort of, if a chord has got 13 notes in it, I can't hear it once and go, oh, that's how you play that.
None of the whole Mozart
kind of
thing,
your more typical pop music and rock music and stuff like that. I can normally work out within kind of 2 minutes of hearing it. And I guess once that kind of built up, that was when I started, I would work out pop songs that I liked on the radio, and then once I got comfortable playing with them, I've started singing at the same time, and then I think I was 10 or 11 when I wrote my first song, So yeah, I don't know if that would have. I don't know if that would have ever happened. You know, if I hadn't had the piano lessons, it's impossible to say. But that definitely was kind of what inspired me to you know, really helped me start writing songs.
Well, what would you say was like maybe one of your favorite artists? I mean, for me, when I was learning the piano, it was Prince. Excuse me. Wow, it was Prince.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I used to be able to play the Purple Rain album
Nice.
and everything like that. Yeah, I thought it was very nice. It was very cool until I forgot it all. But, right? You know, try playing the beautiful
your
ones,
one
right?
chord.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. It was boy chord. Simple, man. But who was your favorite artist that you glommed to when you were learning?
So at the time, I think what kind of made me start writing was actually Adele's really kind of iconic performance she did of Someone Like You at the Brits.
Oh,
Because that
great.
was, I think, the first time I'd heard a song that was just a voice and a piano.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me be like, oh, I didn't know you could write songs like that. And so, yeah, I then kind of came up with my own little piano part and wrote a song over that, and my songwriting process has kind of never really changed, to be honest. You know, I'll still kind of do exactly the same thing of just sitting down, finding some chords I like, singing over it, and then, you know, just recording it all on a voice memo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've tried sort of, you know, this Audible project has been kind of a different, you know, quite a fun challenge, because we were already kind of given the music. You know, we chose from some tracks, but the music, like the track, was already recorded. So we were purely writing the melody and the lyrics. So I found that quite a fun, like, challenge, because yeah, it's very, very different to how I would normally write.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's interesting too is because, like, you were came down to you and another artist,
Yeah.
woman named Lucy, who came in seemingly as a rap artist, right? But then was choosing to sing on this track that you guys started to collaborate on
Yeah.
and everything. But so can you tell me, what was the collaboration process like for you?
So I feel like I'm probably not the best example of it, because I actually had to be somewhere else for the first couple of hours yesterday, and then I was on delayed trains and couldn't get cabs and stuff like that. So we didn't so much, you know, when I arrived, Lucy had already written kind of a verse, a bridge, and a chorus. And then we went with what she had already done, and kind of went from there in terms of, well, what specific story can we bring into this? How can we have a story between these two different vocalists, and kind of how can we develop it further? So yeah, we weren't so collaborative in terms of coming up with the melody, because, you know, Lucy wouldn't have just sat there for 3 hours not doing anything while I was stuck on a train. So yeah, but then, you know, my verse, I've kind of used inspiration from Lucy's melody, but tweaked it a little bit, more to develop the song as much as to have a bit of variety. And then, yeah, our bridge part, we've kind of got two overlapping melodies that are completely different. So yeah, I think it was quite a strange collaboration in terms of you know, the musical ideas kind of came very separately. You know, I didn't have an exact melody pinned for my bridge section until I was literally in the studio today recording it.
So, but then how was that process? Because, I mean, in recording the track, you also recorded separately. But how was that for you? How was that process?
Yeah, it was really cool, actually. I've never done a recording session where there's been another vocalist involved. So it was really cool kind of hearing what Lucy had done on that first verse and that chorus. and kind of thinking like choosing what parts I wanted to try and replicate in my sections and which parts I thought we could maybe like alter slightly in the second part of the song. And I think we've got like our voices work really, really well together. I think we've both got quite, I'm trying to think of the right word, like quite deep tones, I think.
But it's a nice blend, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. You know, there were points kind of today when we were sorting it out where Roy would kind of play something back, and I'd have to sort of say, was that my recording or was that Lucy's? Because you know, we do have quite a similar sound. But yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. And as I said, like the kind of writing the lyrics, even though Lucy had come up with hers separately, I kind of came in with the story element of it, and we kind of tweaked that together. And yeah, so there are some the chorus with the lyrics we kind of came up with. I think we wrote about half the chorus each actually, and then obviously yeah, we've written a verse and then a bridge part each as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was sort of quite interesting to, you know, because we had our lyrics decided, but then when we were in the studio, sometimes you just tweak things slightly. So that was cool as well. Was kind of going in to my session and hearing like, oh, Lucy's changed that line. That's really cool, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, let me just go back to you as far as an artist. I mean, because you know, like you said, you've been singing for some time and everything else like that, and you do have some original tracks. But also too is that I think it's also important and empowering, and probably I don't know how does that sound to you, but you know, like you were adamant how you didn't want your blindness or your visual impairment to be like your coat, like that's all you are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, but you said you did have a song that kind of like reflected upon that, called "Broken Glass on the Streets of Liverpool."
Yeah,
And everything,
so
and I just wanted to know about the idea of that song.
yeah, so with my blindness, it's not a kind of, you know, I'm not gonna ignore it and get annoyed if anyone acknowledges it, because I think like that would be crazy, because
Yeah.
sometimes I fall downstairs. But yeah, that song particularly, so as I said, I lost my sight when I was 4 through a brain tumour, and then that came back when I was 10, and then again in 2020, because you know there hadn't been enough happening that year, so I thought I needed some attention. So yeah, and after that, you know, I had radiotherapy for that in 2021, and after that, the tiny bit of sight I had kind of got doubly worse from what it was. So, you know, whereas before I had maybe 1% in one eye and a bit of light in the other one, now it's kind of nothing in one and a lot less than 1% in the other. And that song, Broken Glass on the Streets of Liverpool, is this kind of all tied into when I moved to Liverpool. So I came up here for university, and yeah, it kind of I'd been looking at this uni for years, and I absolutely loved the city, and you know, I could not wait to move to Liverpool. And then kind of just as I moved, my sight kind of really started to deteriorate, and so I deliberately wrote it, you know, as much as it is about my blindness, I wrote it as a kind of lost love song, you know, where my eyesight would be the lost love. And yeah, that was a very kind of deliberate decision, because, you know, I don't want to kind of have that be, it is so often is the main focus for other people in terms of me as an artist. You know, I've been offered kind of quite big and exciting opportunities and got really far with them, and then I've kind of said, look, I'm not going to ignore my blindness, but please do kind of ask me more questions about my music or myself, and then, you know, kind of just dismissed. didn't end up getting the projects and stuff. And I think it's a very difficult balance of, I don't want it to define me, but it's so tied into me as a musician, because that's why I started playing piano, and I learned things by ear because I can't read music and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's more, yeah.
I get you.
I'll
I
talk
get you
about it, but it's not the only thing I want people to, I don't want people just to hear me sing one song and call me an inspiration without knowing anything about my life or what, I've had some brain tumors and lost some sight, but I'm a person outside of that. I've had relationships, I've had brilliant days, I've made mistakes,
No, I totally get what you're saying, Grace, because, you're an actress, you're a singer, but also, too, is you have this thing that you did with the BBC called My Song, My Home, where you were labeled as the top busker of 2023, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I entered that, obviously, in 2023, and I entered actually because the prize, the final was held at the Cavern Club, and I just thought, what an how often would you get to perform there as a pretty new artist? And then if you won, the prize was a couple of hours of free studio time. That was kind of more my reason for entering. I don't actually busk all that often. I'm a absolute wuss. I will only do it in the summer. And then obviously on top of that, I'm a uni student, so I've got assignments and things. So I'm not really a massive busker, but I thought I'd enter anyway. And got to the final, got to perform at the Cavern Club, which was still probably one of the best nights of my life.
But I just think it's just also just important, like you just said, is that I think you were saying Roy released a TikTok of you singing, working on this track, and then all the responses was like, "Oh, how inspirational on this!"
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Well, wait a minute, hold on."
That was actually for this project.
Yeah, exactly.
Roy kind of posted just a video on Instagram, like a short reel of the track and of us kind of singing along with the track. Not properly, but just messing around. And he said, "Oh, I've got loads of comments back." I was, "Oh, yeah. Well, what have people said? Do they, meaning in my head, do they like the song? Do they like what the song's about? Do they like my voice?" And it was just just loads of people saying you're an inspiration. And it's kind of like they've seen a 25-second video of me. They don't even know if I've written the song. They don't know anything about me at all.
Yeah.
But yet I am an inspiration because I don't really know, because I'm not sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. But then exactly. I don't really think any disabled people, I'm sure there are a couple in the world that do, but we can't all just...
It's like I said to you, it's like my condition is not my definition.
Yeah.
And if anybody could take anything away from that, they could take away that, because I heard the song, I watched the song and process being developed. As I said, the chord that it's based upon is one of my favorites, and I love listening to it. And people, boom, when the song is out, they will be like, "Wow, this is a fantastic song," and it should not be defined by.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah, exactly.
This whole project is telling stories through music, and so it's a little bit frustrating that that's the aim, but no one's actually listening to the story because they're just going, "Oh, look, that girl's eyes are funny."
No. Well, no. So basically, how can people find you, Grace? And everything on your socials and stuff.
Yeah. So I am on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all at Grace Chloe Music.
Grace Chloe Music, and like I said, she has other tracks out there. Medusa, Pretend, but you also have a YouTube channel as well for your acting, don't you?
Yeah. So I've, you won't be able to find any videos on that because it's just monologues for my spotlight, but I do acting as well. I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I want to thank you for like being the first one here today in the studio, discussing the process of being taking part in our Audible Amazon project, and everything. And what I like to just say is, well done. This is Chase Johnson Lynch. I'm being your host. This is Grace Chloe. She's been my guest, and hey, for now we out of here.